John McGraw, today on Sunday Baseball.
And stepping up to the plate, it's Sunday Baseball with Indy Nidell.
John McGraw. When you think of John McGraw, you think of Giants. No, not that. No, baseball Giants. John McGraw was the manager of the New York Giants, now the San Francisco Giants, for 30 years, retiring in 1932, and he is regarded as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, manager in baseball history, leading the Giants to 10 World Series and managing such incredible superstars as Christy Mathewson, Iron Man McGinnity, Frankie Frisch, Victory Faust,
Victory Faust?
Victory Faust, and other guys. McGraw was often known as the Little Napoleon because he once invaded Egypt and lost a land war in Russia.
No.
Okay? Because he looked just like Napoleon but was smaller.
No.
Okay? Because he was a very controlling manager who called most of the action at the plate and once fined a player for hitting a home run when he had given the bunt signal. What a lot of people don't realize is that before McGraw was a manager, he was a great player, a star third baseman, and a big part of the Baltimore Orioles dynasty that won 3 straight pennants in the mid-1890s. When attendance began to slip at the end of the decade, owner Henry von Horst decided to ship all of his stars off to Brooklyn.
Why Brooklyn?
Because von Horst also owned the Brooklyn baseball team, today known as the Los Angeles Dodgers, and he thought he'd make more money if he shipped all of his stars off to the Brooklyn baseball team. Now, if it sounds like a shady conflict of interest to own 2 baseball teams in the same major league, that's only because it is. So von Horst decided he'd make an Uber team in Brooklyn at the expense of Baltimore.
Poor Baltimore.
And this basically worked because Brooklyn won the pennant in 1899 and 1900, and Baltimore went bankrupt after the 1899 season and left the league. But Baltimore's 1899 season is memorable for one reason here. John McGraw. John McGraw refused to relocate to Brooklyn. He stayed in Baltimore as their manager and their third baseman, and he put together in 1899 one of the best, if not the best, seasons in history by a third baseman. In 1899, John McGraw hit .391, the highest average ever by a third baseman. He stole 73 bases. He led the league in walks and runs, scoring 140 runs in 117 games, and most importantly, he had a .547 on-base percentage. 547. That was the all-time record, and it stood for over 40 years until Ted Williams barely topped it in 1941. Since then, it's only been topped twice more, both times by Barry Bonds, also a Giant. Yes, that kind of Giant. No one else, Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, no one else reached base as often as John McGraw. But here's the thing. If you look at the list of the all-time best on-base percentages, all of the guys on the list are like big sluggers. Guys you might intentionally walk once in a while. Or at least pitch really carefully to. But not John McGraw. 5'7" and 150 pounds, but he was on base all of the time. Now you might be saying only 117 games, that's not the whole season.
That's not the whole season.
And you might be sort of right because the season was 152 games long. But here's the thing, McGraw wasn't just playing, he was also managing. And he led Baltimore, who was expected to finish at or near the bottom of the league, to a 4th place finish out of 12 teams and nearly a .600 winning percentage. And he would have done even better, but in August, McGraw's wife, Mary, died of appendicitis, and the grieving McGraw missed most of September. But seriously, what an awesome season, especially in the face of tragedy. A third baseman who hits nearly .400, the all-time on-base percentage record. And do you know what his reward was?
Bupkis.
No, it was actually something good.
Yay!
His contract was sold to St. Louis for the 1900 season after Baltimore folded, and he was paid $10,000 for that season, which was the highest salary in baseball history at that time. But more importantly, he had the reserve clause removed from his contract. Now, the reserve clause is a topic for another day, and I'm not going to talk about it now, but go and look it up if you don't know what it is. Suffice to say that from the 1880s to the 1970s, only one single player in all of Major League Baseball had the reserve clause removed from his contract. John McGraw, a great manager and a great third baseman. That's all for this week, but we'll see you next week for more Sunday Baseball. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and write us comments and click subscribe so that we can all turn into good things like chocolate and marshmallows and stuff. You can use that, right? Yeah. I have to mention, I'm going to set up the Facebook account. Well, that's the end of that episode.
Sure.